The issue of residential segregation and its relationship to the racial wealth gap is an area ripe for potential innovation. This series of maps uses data from the 2010 census and the city's 2015 and 2016 property tax assessments to show patterns of residential segregation in Boston and how those patterns relate to property values and property value appreciation. There is a wealth of academic literature studying the relationship between real estate assets and wealth accumulation in American families. As the racial wealth gap is an important component of persistent racial inequality, understanding this dynamic in Boston is crucial to making the city a fairer, more prosperous place for residents. The first three maps show how Boston's residential patterns are shaped by race. Here we see white concentration throughout the city, including nearly all white neighborhoods in West Roxbury, South Boston, and Jamaica Plain. The black community is heavily concentrated in Mattapan and Roxbury, and the same holds for the Hispanic community, which is most concentrated in East Boston. These maps on their own demonstrate the problem of housing segregation in Boston, a problem mirrored, of course, in big cities nationwide. But another map sheds light on one way in which residential segregation prevents upward mobility for minority communities and minority families. This map shows property values of owner-occupied homes and makes clear that property in white areas is overall much more valuable than property in black or Hispanic parts of town. It is clear that the current value of owner-occupied housing is tied with the racial makeup of the neighborhood. But what are the trends in housing values, and how can we use them to gauge what the future of the racial wealth gap driven by property values might be? Comparing property value changes between 2015 and 2016 reveals a trend that could shape minority communities for better or worse. Areas with a high share of African Americans in the resident population saw greater property value appreciation than areas with a high share of whites in the population, while Hispanic areas saw the smallest appreciation in property values. This trend, even though it is over only a short period of time, points to significant current appreciation in some high minority but low property value areas. As a result, these maps pose several hard but important questions for Boston city government. Why are these changes happening in some neighborhoods but not others? How can racial minorities accrue as much benefit as possible from increasing property values in their neighborhoods? What are the differential impacts on owners and renters? We think that rising property values would be good for owners but bad for renters. And where in the city are longtime residents, often residents of color, being pushed out of their neighborhoods by gentrification? How can we reap the benefits of increasing prosperity while ensuring that poor and middle-class Bostonians are not being left behind? The city needs to find innovative ways to encourage and augment this increase in property values while driving minority property ownership and preventing displacement.